Takita falls again in this episode, and she really has to be stopped. That's like her favorite thing to do now. So this episode is riddled with questionable conclusions, but before we get into all of that, I do have to point out that it opens with the drawing that I think Yiro drew of her in the other episode, and that's just hilarious. Like, that's legitimately funny. Like, why do they still have that? And the guy's talking about how, like, oh, this is the only photo we have left of Takita, woe is us. But didn't the guy draw another one? Or just ask him to draw another one? Like, I don't know, it was just so funny to me that the one photo they're gonna have at her funeral, assuming they don't find her, they do, but the one photo they're gonna have at her funeral is just that one little doodle. I don't know, that was just funny, and I think I don't know, it was a nice little callback, and I'm glad they brought it back. One other thing to point out before we go into the actual string of bad decisions in this episode is that there's a scene where they spend the night in the cave because Takita's still with the hunter chick, and she's talking about how her leg is getting infected, and she cooked the both of them soup. And Takita has some in a very intense, intimate scene that she has with this woman. And so Takita has some and she bursts into tears with how good it is. And I'm sure there's more behind that. Obviously, there's subtle symbolism and all that about eating the child's mother in front of her and all that good jazz. But the excuse she gives for why she broke down into tears is that the food is just that good. And you know what? We've all been there. I've been there. I've gone to insert name of good restaurant here. I'm not gonna advocate a restaurant. I don't know what your tastes are. But the point is, it was just a nice scene. And the last nice scene in the episode where I approved of everything going on. Because they go to like her camp and they meet this other woman there and she stitches up Takita's leg. But then the flying baby dragon that they have starts getting hungry. And like, okay, you know what she does? It doesn't start getting hungry. Initially, the thing goes into her bag and starts sucking on that ointment. And Takita's like, you know what? Sure, I know this is a skin ointment, but yeah, it's a good idea for me to just give some to this baby dragon. I don't know what he eats. I don't know if they use milk or anything. Probably not, but I'm just give this skin ointment to the dragon. And then in the scene immediately after that, the dragon appears sick and they're like, what do you think is wrong with it? Oh, it must be hungry. You don't know that it's hungry. Maybe it's feeling sick because you just gave it dragon ointment. It'd be like the equivalent of giving a baby like organic shampoo. It's organic, sure, but it's going to be sick after you eat it. And then they spend a huge chunk of this episode actually just trying to find things to give the baby dragon to eat. And they end up settling on mayonnaise made from dragon oil. And like, yeah, it even frustrates Takita that the dragon isn't willing to eat the stuff. But like, guys, it's a baby. Does ointment and mayonnaise sound like a good diet for a baby? I understand that it's a dragon, but that's still not a good situation. But the thing is, like, you're going to kill it. Like, they don't know anything about raising this thing. And then it gets more sick, right? She wakes up in the middle of the night. The thing gets more sick. And then they're like, oh, what's wrong with it? It's because it's not in the sky and creatures from the sky can't live on land. First of all, you don't know that. Second of all, why wouldn't they be able to live on land? It's been on land this whole time. It can fly. It hasn't touched the ground yet, I don't think. Where does the sky start? All these things that don't get answered that she just assumes. Okay, yeah, this baby dragon can't be on land. That's what's wrong with it. It's not that I fed it ointment and mayonnaise all day. But sure, it probably needs actual food from actual mothers. I mean, I'm assuming its mother is dead. I don't know if that actually was the thing that fell. Now that I think about it, how do they know that one dragon was the thing's mother? Like, it just fell out of the sky because Takita harpooned it. Not because it had any... Like, the dragon would not have been in that cave had Takita not fallen off the ship after harpooning. It didn't really make sense. It was very questionable conclusions the entire way through, and the solution, right? The thing to stop the dragon from being sick is to reunite it with its pod. And that I do approve of, but how they settle on doing that is, you know what? let's just climb that huge mountain, that huge volcano, I'm assuming, because there's smoke coming out of it, unless there's a dragon in there somehow. But let's just climb up that huge volcano after having fresh stitches in the middle of the night. Nothing bad has ever happened from hiking in the middle of the night on a steep, hazardous rock surface, right? Nothing. What could go wrong? And I don't know. I just didn't understand that train of thought. And it just seemed weird to me. And then the hunter chick looks at Takita when she suggests this like she's crazy. And I was like, good, she is crazy right now. That's not a good idea. But whatever. They're off to the races. They start going and climbing up that mountain. And you know what? All things considered, though, all that said, points to Takita for actually like powering through the pain, because as someone who's actually had stitches in the past, I can tell you that stuff is rough, and there's no way she wouldn't have torn through her stitches, especially in the thigh, hiking up a mountain. But she powers through it, and you know what? I respect that. Also, though, continuing on with the questionable conclusions, back at the Queen Zaza, back at the ship, they're like, the pod is moving in this direction towards this mountain type thing. That must be where Takita is. But how, though? How? Where does that line of logic come in? I just don't understand. Because I think the logic is, right, that if Takita was holding on to this dragon, the dragon's going to want to find its pod. And if Takita follows the dragon to its pod, we'll meet up in the same place. And that's a lot of optimistic what ifs. But I guess that one kind of gets a pass because they are desperate at that point. Again, another bit of logic that just didn't make sense to me. It's all just like plot convenience, but all right, okay, I'm sticking with it. I mean, I did really enjoy the final shot where like Takita, she makes it as far as she can, right? She sees the pod. She assumes the pod is leaving because it starts changing shape, and she tries to white fang the baby dragon. White fang. I assume you know what that means. I don't know why I would do that, though. I don't know why I would speak that way either. Anyways, so she starts white fanging the kid, which essentially means like, I'm going to force you to leave by pretending I don't love you because I know you're better off with your own kind. So she tries swinging at the thing. It doesn't want to leave her. And because the thing is adorable and loyal and saved her life in this episode after she fell again. But I did really enjoy that shot where she's standing at the cliffside, the mountainside, and the Queen Zaza just appears in the side. It was epic. The music comes in a very cool way, and it made me feel things, and I'm all for it, man. Episode 11, one more left on the show, I believe, and you know what? I'm invested in all these characters, and I hope, obviously they're going to be reunited in the next one, but I hope we're in for something great when that dragon gets reunited. Or we're not. Either way, it's been a wacky, fun ride, and this episode did not disappoint. Have a good day, guys. Thanks for watching if you did. That's pretty much all I have to say. Like and subscribe if you want. Sorry I ranted a bit longer than I should have or meant to, but you know what? I had a lot of things to say. This episode got a rise out of me. A lot of weird decisions, but you know what? I'm here for it. I hope you guys have been as well. Have a good day. Do not feed baby dragons ointment. That's all I'm saying.